Oh, but you did the video, so you can still get it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new media show. We're back. We are back, and welcome to the show, Rob. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Todd. It's good to be back. We've been on the road and doing a lot of stuff in the real world, not so much doing it quite as much podcasting. But
Yeah.
I know you've been busy podcasting with your regular show, and I have too. But this is the first time we've had a chance to get together. What has it been? 3 weeks now.
Oh, I think it's a month, but
Has it been a full month? Wow.
yeah, it's been a while. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad we're back in the saddle here, and actually, I got some notes from people saying they missed us. So that's when people are sending a note saying we miss you guys, that's encouraging. So the missing is over, everyone. We're here. So
Yeah.
and I've even got the right lower thirds on the video. So perfect.
Yeah, you do. You do. And I'm in the upper square instead of the bottom square usually.
Yeah. And I got let's see which button to push. There we go. I got you in the right location. So Rob, last Sunday I was mowing and came back from the gym, grabbed my kids. Let's get the yard mowed before your mom gets home. You mow, I'll trim, and I climbed on my back wall about 25 feet from here to trim the palm tree because palm trees get these little weird spurs on them with little seeds and stuff. And
Hmm.
I was crawling across the wall, and I put my foot down, and there was no wall there.
Oh no.
And I timbered off the wall from about 10 feet. It bounced off my neighbor's lower wall and then ended up in his yard, face down, still with the trimmers in my hand. And so I've been gimping around here all week. I'm about 50% back, but I didn't break any ribs. When you do one of those things, you kind of like feel yourself
Yeah.
to see if there's any bones sticking out or anything.
Yeah. Am I all together still? Yes.
And I stood up and I looked at my hand was jacked up, but it was only like superfluous scratches. There was no, nothing where I needed to go get stitches. But oh, it's been a rough week. Motrin has
Sounds
been
like
my friend.
well, be careful. Don't get addicted to painkillers now.
Well, yeah, Motrin, yeah, that's the last thing you're ever gonna get addicted to.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
true.
that sucks. All right. Well, anyway, welcome back. We are here. I think you mentioned it before we got started. Where do we start? Um,
I know, exactly. I don't
when
know.
the
I guess start at the beginning.
yeah, I think when you and I last did this show, it was even the week before NAB because remember I was traveling for NAB
Yeah, and it
and
was all about a lot of what we talked about was the Pod Summit,
yeah,
which I've been to and been back for a week from.
yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, so we NAB was good. I think we can probably talk pretty much to the event on Wednesday. But I crawled the floor, and really and I told my audience this over at Geek News Central was that it was all about NDI and this video over IP that new tech, this protocol, and everyone's adopting it, and Wirecast users and uh, uh, um, oh my goodness, a live stream, and all those systems are going to be able to talk to one another. So it was pretty cool.
It's a big breakthrough, I think. So,
I just been waiting for adoption for the past year, because we've been using
yep.
it, and of course, Callie Lewis was Luria, excuse me, her, and she was basically live streaming at the live stream booth like 10 hours a day. I did an interview with her, and one thing you don't do. I'm just going to tell the audience this is a lesson learned, and you should never do 8, 9, 10 hours live by yourself and getting a new guest every 15 minutes. I went on. I think I went on Wednesday or two. No,
That's
was it Tuesday or what? I don't remember now. But she was
that's
all
hard.
she was already punchy, and so
Yeah.
we made a rule at Tech Podcast when we were doing CES and those events, like 2-3 hours max,
Hmm.
and you'd get off you get out of the hot seat, you'd feel like you'd been run through a ringer.
Oh
So
yeah.
I asked her before we went on the air. I said, "Have you been going back to the hotel and face planning?" And she says, "I get a little substance, and I face plant." And but what it does is it doesn't make you as a sharp of a interviewer
No, of course not.
with
Yeah.
that many
There's no
guests.
way that I mean, also, Todd, there's no way you can be properly prepared for that many guests too. I mean, you
Hmm.
can't. I mean, you're just asking really superficial questions because there's just no way you can dive into it at that level.
Right.
Yeah, I've been involved in that too. I mean, that type of thing. Um, you know, I don't know if I mean many people realize it, but my wife Dana actually she got picked to be the first CBS podcaster, and we flew down to Los Angeles. This is back in 2005, and did all day conversations with TV stars for the up and coming fall television season, and we did. I think we did 37 interviews in one day.
Oh,
And that was, and that's like a new celebrity coming in our recording booth every like every 15 minutes.
and
Um,
and you don't even remember who you talked to. You're
well, I mean, a lot of these people are very, very famous. So, I mean, of course you remember. I mean, like we talked to, you know, Mr. Henry Winkler. I mean, guys like that, right?
hmm
Fonzie.
how do you prep? How do you prep for 37 interviews and just, how much homework did you guys do on that before you went in there?
Well, CBS gave us a notebook basically that had a picture and a bio, and below the bio was an outline of the TV show that they were starring in for the
Mm,
fall season. So um, it was like this. They bring in a lot of the big radio talk show guys from around the country, and they do a bunch of interviews about the fall season,
right.
and those are then recorded and taken back to the stations around around the country at that time.
Yep.
um, and so you just flip the page. There's another one coming in.
Yeah.
There's you know this celebrity and that celebrity, and you just roll through it, and you just do the best that you can, and you try and be really personable, because what we were trying to do back then was really kind of stand out
Yeah.
with podcasting, because this was the first time that CBS television network had ever done a podcast. So it was something that we tried to make kind of very personable to the star, and quite different than what they were doing on the more of the broadcast guys.
Hmm.
We're very superficial. That morning jock talk kind of you know zoo kind of concept is what they were doing. So they were telling jokes and
Right.
joking around with them, where we were like getting in and trying to learn about them and getting personal with them and things like that. So yeah, it was interesting. And a lot of that stuff is still available online, but it's not a part of CBS. CBS took it down a long time ago, but
Right.
it's still up there. But yeah, it's grueling doing that kind of stuff.
So out of the NAB show on Wednesday, we had our first session and we had a full hour. It was beautiful. A full hour to really kind of talk about the state of podcasting. So we
Hmm.
had on the
Yep.
panel was yourself, Rob Walls, Rob McCracken from Scripps, and Watashi Wa, which would be me. So we the format, for those of you that don't know, we were basically we all had some slides. We talked to our slides. In large part, we didn't see each other's slides beforehand.
Hmm.
I may have seen the Rob McCracken's from Scripps, but I don't think I saw yours or Rob Walsh's. And
No.
um, we just talked to her, and then we just kind of chit chatted about space.
Yeah.
How many people were there? 100?
Yeah, it was about 100, probably, maybe a little over 100. But and then about half of the session we took questions from the audience.
Yeah.
So, and that was what the goal was. We were trying to find out what the audience was interested in learning about podcasting, and they had some really great questions that they asked. Um, but there is some interesting things that come out of going to a conference like that, that's very focused on radio broadcasters, because they have a very different take on what podcasting should be, and what how they're going to incorporate it into what they're doing. And and it's a little bit of it's not as easy of a fit as you would magically think it would be, right? Do you have any thoughts on that, Todd?
Well, I think the thing I was surprised was the number of folks that are, there was nary a naysayer in the group. I think
Yeah,
everyone was pretty pro podcasting, which, one event I went to and spoke at, 50% of the folks went out and got a drink during the podcast session. So,
yeah,
um,
that's true. That's
these
true.
these folks were, essentially asking good questions and engaged, and some were. I think I asked a question: how many of them were already doing some sort of podcast at their station? And what did we get, a 20 hands or
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a big number yet.
no? But I was surprised it was 20. You know, um,
Mhm.
so and then a lot of positive and a lot of questions, and not too many questions though on how are we going to pay for this. My point was, and really kind of I said you need to get ahead of this thing. Let's be frank. Well, look what your kids are doing in the car, and that's the future of radio. And they, and if they don't have kids and their kids are out of
Mhm.
school, or if they get two little kids, um, they'll learn out very quickly here that radio's in trouble, not from the guys like you and I, but from the 25 or 30-year-old and unders that are not tuning in.
Yeah.
Um, so, my goal was try to make them think a little proactive on, where digital is heading, and I don't know, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's not going away anytime soon, and radio's local, and radio will always have local advertising, and that
Mhm.
that's their key in staying in business. But look at Clear Channel. What do they got? $1 billion note coming up? Not Clear
Yeah.
Channel, iHeartRadio, billion
Yeah.
dollars, and they've said publicly that they have a concern that it's basically that stock statement saying that they don't know if they'll be able to continue. Same as the folks at and there's another internet company that's got some issues too that's doing that we all know, called SoundCloud.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I mean it's a difficult transition for radio to move this direction. Because like you said, a lot of them are very focused on local, and I've been a proponent of the opportunity of local for podcasting too. So I mean, but it's still early days for that. But as we get more people listening to on demand content, the opportunity increases. Um, there's more people listening in any given market. So it's an opportunity that's there. It's just radio has to seize it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if they don't seize it, then somebody else is going to come in and take it from them. It's just a matter of time.
But
I
what
I think.
But what cracks me up though is we put out all this great content, and there was a couple of articles that were written about it. And what is the one thing that stands out?
Duration.
Shoot me in the head, please.
Well, Rob Walsh was very focused on that topic. He's very much has an opinion about that, and I think we all do. But it's
It,
just a matter. I mean, he came out there and just shot some research that came out, right?
he's double barreled shotgunned it.
Yeah, exactly. While we were down there, the bridge ratings, Mr. Dave Van Dyke had some research that came out that says that basically he was making the statement that the ideal length of a podcast was 22 minutes, and that the path to success was to do a 22-minute long podcast.
So
Um,
so Rob, I don't have any studies. I don't have any stats data. I don't have any top 100 shows that I'm looking at. And frankly, and excuse my French, I could give two shits. It's like, do what you want to do.
yeah,
It's a non-issue for me. It's like, just have fun, do your show. This is the beauty of the medium. Today, if we go
yeah,
2 hours, who cares?
yeah.
It's whatever we want to do.
I agree.
Good, have fun, great content.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the the consensus, I think, across the board, across the industry on this topic is that there is no ideal length. Um, it should be based on what the content is, and I think that's the consensus now. Um, sure, there may be sessions that are associated with that number of 22 minutes. People might only listen to 22 minutes at a time, but this is an on-demand medium. There was
It's
no
not.
data on there
It,
about how frequently a person comes back and
it's
finishes an
it's it's
episode.
not going anywhere.
Yeah, so it's it's not an issue of scarcity, which radio is very much all about, right? Once it airs, it disappears.
Yeah. It,
So, if that listener wasn't listening, there's no way they're going to listen to any more of it
mm-hmm.
because it doesn't exist anymore. So, it's hard to compare these two things fairly, unless there's so many other elements that come into play that it's just, you can't simplify it like that and make statements like that and have it, because people will follow that. People will start saying, I have to create a 22-minute episode,
Yep.
and that's my path to success.
Yep.
And it won't be.
No. And so again, this I don't even waste any more minutes on this. So we're going to move
Fair
on.
enough.
Um, so what do you think then? We did a second session, which was on the show floor,
Yep.
and that one was a little more loose, but we are talking about advertising, monetization, influencers in the space. And it's interesting because I got an email from a Forbes reporter yesterday that was asking me about the influence value of celebrities when it comes to podcasting and how much money they can earn. And
Mm-hmm.
I only have we don't work specifically with celebrities. That's Norm and his team over at Podcast One. They work with a lot of celebrities. Maybe you do. I don't know, but and we've got a few people that use our service, but I don't
Yeah.
pay
There's a few.
I don't pay attention to what they're doing in particular. But my feedback to the Forbes reporter was that if anyone can build a big audience and make a big amount of money, it's a celebrity. Why, they've got this advantage of being on TV or in a movie, or it doesn't mean that they can create any content any better than the next person. But, for a 22-year-old media buyer who is trying to do some ad deals, and they can get Shaq or they can get people like that to run their ads, they'll pay a huge premium to get that advertising in that show, not necessarily based on what it's going to perform, but just from a PR standpoint, that they can take that ad that Shaq run and say, look at this. Look who's endorsing our product, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, and a lot of that stuff is a lot of the leverage that the celebrities have with ad buyers really gets back to that, Todd.
yeah,
I mean, if you have a network that has a couple of really big celebrities on there, and that the advertisers are clamoring to get on that show, example Adam Carolla, um, you can bundle. You can say, if you want to get on Adam Carolla's show, you got to buy these other 5
right,
shows.
right, right.
And that's at that same network, that's what they do.
But
Um,
but I'll say this too. I had a deal I did with a celebrity show, and this is just one case in point. And the way the deal was structured, I told the company that was going to spend the money, and they were going to spend over $20,000 for a 2-week run. And I said, "You're insane." I said, "This is not going to perform. We don't care. You're wasting your money. This is not going to perform. We don't care." And that's what it really was. It was they didn't care if they sold a single product. They wanted to take it was a $20,000 to get the voice of the person that was running the spot to say the spot to put on their website. They
uh,
they did not care about the performance of the ad deal whatsoever. And guess what? We looked at the performance of the ad the deal, and it was horrible.
Wow.
but they were happy. They were happy as a clam because they were able
They
to
got
sit.
that person.
They
Yeah.
got that person. They didn't want
Yeah.
anything else. So I was like, well, in this was before, if I'd have been smart at the time, I'd have just done an influencer deal and asked for more money. I wasn't thinking of it from
Yeah.
a CPM standpoint. I was thinking of it from a, we got to perform, we got to deliver product. They didn't care. And these influencer campaigns that companies, they're spending insane amount of money for people that are social media influencers. But anyway, back to NAB, we were talking about some of that.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention too the panel session that we did on the exhibition show floor. That's currently available online. All the audio from that.
Oh,
But the panel session at the NAB kind of radio track, that whole thing wasn't recorded.
we didn't know. We need it later. Can we get a
Yeah.
recording? What do you mean? You didn't record this?
Yeah,
What? What?
exactly.
What?
We could have recorded.
Oh,
I could have thrown my phone on the floor
oh,
and done the whole thing. Yeah.
lesson learned.
Yeah.
Lesson learned. It was, jeez.
Yeah.
But even that little show floor we had, and it wasn't a big area. We were just like in the equivalent of like a 10 by 20 booth or something like that. We were right off the show floor, and they had some seats, and so that was
It was
well
a bit
attended too.
I think it was a little bit bigger than a 10 by 20. I think it was probably like a 30
It was
by
deeper.
30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think we had like maybe what, 35,
Yeah, maybe,
40 people sitting
yeah,
up there.
35, 40
Yeah.
probably, yeah. And
Yeah.
good questions, but the seats were uncomfortable. I hated those. I hate sitting in those director type chairs. You can never get like adjusted right. But but
That's true.
but otherwise, one thing I can say about the NAB show was less audio, more video this year.
Oh yeah. Big video. The
Big.
360-degree cameras and the drones flying around
Mm-hmm.
with cameras on them.
Mm-hmm.
That was really big at
Yeah,
the event
really
this
big.
year.
But one good thing is on Monday, and I know that you were emailed as well. On Monday, I actually having a call with the NAB, and they want to talk about a pavilion for next year and get some input
Mm-hmm.
on the who, what, where, and why. So that's exciting to me that they would have a podcast specific pavilion for us.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, where do we want them to tell them? Where do we want to tell them to put it?
Right, with all the audio gear
Yeah,
areas, I would think.
I would
You
think
know,
so too.
the Shure microphones and the Sennheiser area, which is I believe it was in the North Hall,
And I hope that
right?
they're going to give us a big enough area where we can do like some, just like we did for that second session on the floor, where we could have a little, breakout area where we could do some mini sessions, some mini, um, I wouldn't want to do a full program. That would be stupid. But, maybe where we could do 4 or
Mm-hmm.
5, um, like 1 hour deals during the week that are specifically designed to talk about podcasting and to be able to bring people in from the show floor. So I don't want
Yeah.
to have to, I don't want to have a full conference, but it'd be nice to do a few educational sessions right there.
Yeah, and I think we'll be able to. I think next year be able to get probably all of us on the NAB live stream that they do. It's a live kind of video stream. I tried to do it this year, but we didn't. They didn't know about us early enough. But they know about us now, so they're gonna probably pull together something. So those that will be not able to attend will be able to see it live on their homepage. I think all three of us. I'm pretty sure I can get us on for next year.
And
Um,
here's the crazy part: you start having working these appearances 12 months out.
oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
um,
This is. I mean, last year was really all about kind of just plowing the ground down there, and Josh and you know from the NAB and trying to work with these various opportunities down there to get exposure for podcasting at that event.
right.
And I think we're starting to really um, have an impact down there, and it's only going to get more, I think, next year. Um, but I'm not sure what a pavilion looks like. It's probably kind of like what we did with the advertising pavilion. It's just going to be a series of all day long sessions, and I'm not sure who's going to actually organize that yet.
Well, and the pavilion also will have mini kiosk. You won't have a 10 by 10. You'll have like they'll have
But a
one of
40
those,
by 40 or
yeah,
something.
well, one of these little quad things. Basically they butt up against
Okay.
each other. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get a chair and a table.
Gotcha.
And believe me, that's actually
That'd be
cool
that's all
because
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it costs less.
It's easier to set up and break down too.
Yeah, it's not, you're not in for 10 grand to begin with. You're in for like maybe 3.5 or 4. Had to bring
Yeah,
no,
that,
you don't, and usually you don't have to bring any carpet. You don't have to bring, they put signage up. Yeah, it's good.
yeah. Doing that show is a pain in the ass, I
I,
have to
it's,
say.
yeah,
As far as being an exhibitor at that show,
oh yeah,
it's not an easy thing to do.
it's 40 or 50 hours of in the
Yeah.
booth. I'm sure.
Back
Yeah.
break and the exhibition floor is so huge that
Yeah.
just getting your stuff in there and getting it set up is just a nightmare.
So that's why we want a kiosk. And so you backpack everything in.
That's right.
So, anyway, that NAB was NAB, and it's a great event. And if you're a podcaster and you've never been to NAB, apply for press credentials and go and do a few articles and earn your press badge and go and see the show. There was some stuff there that I'm looking at my list because I was keeping track. And let me actually look and see what the total ended up being. Look at the notes here.
Oh, cost wise?
Well, yeah, on how much you're going to spend after the show. It wasn't too bad. This year, I think if I buy everything it's on my wish list, I'm probably just under $3,000. But one of the items is a $2,000 software package. But, so, I always judge a show on how much money
Todd's
I'm going to spend
Todd's
afterwards.
Todd's Christmas list, right? Is that
Yeah.
what this is?
Yeah, it's my wish
You're gonna
list.
give it to Santa Claus?
Yeah. No, I'm gonna.
You're gonna buy it yourself,
There's this
right?
thing.
You're gonna wait for no Santa Claus.
There's this amazing thing, and it's Santa Claus is a Visa card.
Yeah, that's right. And it's the UPS truck, right?
Right, right. The UPS driver did say to me, or the FedEx driver, I haven't seen as much stuff coming to you from Amazon, and I'm like, shh, be quiet.
It's on its way.
Be quiet, be quiet. I don't, and don't tempt everyone in the house. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
exactly.
then I stayed. I had meetings for people that actually came in late in the week, which was
Mhm.
unusual. So I
You were
had
really busy at this event.
yeah, I
Back to
was
back
I was
meetings. Yeah.
I was saying what it was the company came in Wednesday, Thursday, had a meeting on Friday, probably a meeting with me, used that to write the day off, and then spent the weekend partying. So, they anyway, it was worth me staying the extra day, but and then like a dummy, I should have come home on Saturday, but I said, well, I'll have a day to party, and then I came home on Sunday, so yeah, I should have come home a day early. I was Vegased out.
I can only take about 4 days of Vegas.
Yeah, when I go, it seems like I always stay 7 to 9 days or something like that. So,
Yeah,
um,
not so good.
yeah. And the craps tables were not. I was winning at the blackjack table, and I would take what I wanted at the blackjack table. I'd go to the craps table and lose it. Now, if I'd had bet the 7 the entire week, I'd have come home really up. But man, I wasn't down too far. I stopped. I just quit gambling because the tables were horrible, and I don't have time to play blackjack for 5 hours. So
Todd, doesn't the house always win down there? Or
you
do
know
they like throw some tokens out now and then?
usually they don't keep the lights on because people leave with all their money. No, but
I know that exactly.
but I've had a pretty good run over the years. I've always squeaked out a little bit ahead. I've had a few big times I went home with a little extra cash, but this
Yeah.
time I was down, a little more than I wanted to be, and so I just stopped. But you go with a budget, and if you use it and I had fun, but
Yeah.
it's in their checking account, not mine.
Yeah, exactly. Though they need
Uh,
it bad. It's
that's
it's
right.
getting expensive to spend time in Vegas.
Yeah, food is not cheap, but I
Yeah.
stay in Fremont Street, so I mitigate that a little bit it's not as expensive to stay on the strip. So
Oh,
okay, so bada bing bada boom
want
here.
to move on?
You went to Calvary.
I did.
Yeah, tell us about your Pod Summit event.
It was a small. It was kind of like the size of a single day kind of pod camp
Mm-hmm.
um, type of an event. It was very much more structured than a typical pod camp from a standpoint of the speakers had presentations and it was a kind of like an all day event. I led the event off with about a 10-minute talk at the beginning, and then there was just a cascade of people, and most of the speakers were from Canada. So it was very much a focused event, um, trying to help kind of Canadian podcasters from a public radio perspective to production, how to edit, how to storytell, really kind of getting to some of the hot areas of podcasting and how to produce a podcast. There was about maybe about 125 people there or something like that. I mean, it was full. I mean, that's about all the venue could hold. I mean, it was sold out. Um, and it was in a like a work share space in downtown Calgary. And Calgary is a lot bigger city than I think a lot of people realize. It's just the metro area has 1.1 million people.
Huh.
So it's a pretty good city. It's very clean, um, and people there are really nice. I mean, I have to say it's a nice place. So I was impressed. Um, it's up in the air whether or not that event will happen next year. It appears that the organizer who appeared on the last episode that we did of this show, um, he may or may not come back with a new show next year. We'll have to see.
Oh,
Um,
what's the backstory on that?
I don't know. I mean, he didn't go into it thinking that it was going to be an annual event. I think he's had a lot of people say that they would like it to be an annual event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of them. I I kind of encouraged him to really think about that. I know when I had talked to him originally about the event, he had mentioned something about next year maybe doing it in Vancouver or something like that. But I do think that event has potential, and I think Canada needs to join the podcasting community at a little higher level, and I think having an event like that I think helps that happen. Maybe making more of a connection between the U.S. and Canada when it comes to podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think that event has the best shot of doing that right now. And it's a well run conference
So,
that I think is well connected up in Canada. So
and I did see a couple of tweets that came out of it. One I was a little bit critical on, in
yeah.
regards to some statistics information that was shared. What was your thought on the quality of the speakers?
Well, I think one of the things, yeah, and I haven't given the event organizer feedback yet on this, but um, I think that the topics were very. I'm gonna say some of the speakers haven't been around the space for very long,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think some of them have quite a bit of experience. But it's still, and this is fairly common in other countries around the world too. When it comes to podcasting, is it tends to be very centric on kind of public radio. So they tend to think about the medium as a subset of radio instead of something that's unique to itself. And I think that's kind of, I mean, if you look at a lot of European countries, their public radio stuff is pretty dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And so people don't always think of podcasting as a unique medium. They think of it as a subset of radio, and I think it's just an orientation that's different between how I think a big chunk of the U.S. podcaster community thinks about podcasting versus, I mean, don't get me wrong, the U.S. podcast community has a significant public radio element to it, which is very similar to what I'm seeing up in Canada and I see in other countries around the world. Is that thought process around public radio, because people are very much clued into that. There hasn't been a huge development of a community around the independent side, which is where podcasting started here in the US. Was so I mean it's like 90% is on the independent side here in the US. In Canada, I think it's not that high. I mean,
Well,
it's like maybe 40% is on the independent side, 60% is on the public radio side.
well, I would attest that here in the United States, it's about 99%
Yeah.
independent,
Well,
1% public.
yeah, that's
Let's let's
you could definitely argue that. Yeah, I
let's
agree.
let's not give them more credit than where credit's due. You're not being indoctrinated by a certain newsletter, are you, Rob? Because
No, I'm not,
oh,
Todd.
okay, because we know that the bubble of the East Coast is that's the only thing that's innovative happening in podcasting these days, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
All right,
Totally, Todd.
so just to be a little bit of a shill here, we or I and the committee relaunched the Podcast Awards website on May 1st.
That's right.
So let me see if I can put it up on the screen here. We basically took the money that we raised last year from the GoFundMe campaign, and some of the money, and actually the total bill hasn't come in yet, so we're over $5,000 in the rebuild of the website. But I got some pushback from some people. Said, "Why did you use Joomla?" And I was kind of resistant myself to using this as a back end platform. But the dev team said, "This is how we can do it, and this is the fastest way to get there. And if you want to spend, 3 times as much money, we can build it on another platform, specifically WordPress. But if you want to do what you want to do, and with the tools that are available, we can modify stuff and we can make it work." And I think we've come out with a decent site. It hasn't changed in look tremendously, but the main thing is the back end is just, you know, I was editing PHP files before to update the website. So now everything is done through is what you see is what you get editor and
Oh, that's good.
a variety of different things. Now, the rules changes this year probably are where, well, 95% of the people are very, very happy with the rules change. But there is a certain group that is not happy with the rules change. And that's okay. It is what it is. But we took a lot of input from a lot of people. And basically, the way it's going to work now is that shows have to register, and the registration is currently open between now and May. Well, excuse me. The registration is open between now and July 31st, but nominations start on July 1st. I'd always get a dozen or so people that would be 2 weeks into nominations say, I want to participate, and I never had the ability to let them in at that point. So registration stays open all the way to the end of July, even though they may, not get as many nominations. They can still participate, but they have to register. Cost them $10 to register per show, and then when we open up the nominations July 1st, the listeners will have a full 30 days to pick the 21 shows that they want to nominate in the system. They actually will be logging in and be presented a nomination a window with each show that has registered in the category. they'll be able to pick those, and once they lock in their votes, then or their nominations, excuse me, then
Hmm.
we come out of the nomination period, and and then we essentially then do a slate determination. And basically, the slate of nominated shows to be voted on will be determined by the number of nominations each show receives during the nomination period. The nomination committee, made up of 3 podcast award team members, will review the top 10 nominated shows and validate eligibility, certify the slate to be announced no later than August 12th. And then what happens from August 12th to September 15th, I believe, is that we are going to take the committee is going to pick 50 people, industry people. It could be you, it could be a reporter. It's the 50 people in the industry that, and up to 50. It
Hmm.
necessarily won't necessarily be a total of 50. And then through
Hmm.
random selection of the 2017 registered podcasters, we're going to have 50 that are going to be asked to cast ballots. And then we'll pick 250. Well, actually, when people register to nominate, they can select whether or not they want to be part of the group that votes, and we'll take all the people that have registered, and then randomly select 250 listeners to vote. So all total, up to 350 people will vote on the slate. And they'll get to vote once, no daily voting, and that's the big change to the awards. So we'll see how it goes this year.
Plus, also I saw that there's a legacy shows element, and
Yeah.
you've renamed the People's Choice Award. How is that all going to work?
Well,
Let's just talk about that.
this actually came down. This was a recommendation that came from Podvader, of all people. And he came up with this idea. He said, "Okay, you've got these legacy shows. They're not allowed to win in a category anymore. You honor them by putting them on a website, but it's kind of like, really doesn't. It's like, so." He said, "Why don't you rename the categories?" I was like, "Huh." So during the nomination period and voting period, it'll say Coverville PodSafe music category, ESPN Fantasy Focus Football Sports category,
Hmm.
Feast of Fun Fool/Fun LGBTQ category, Free
Hmm.
Talk Live Politics and News category, and we're renaming the People's Choice Award to the Adam Curry People's Choice Award. So we've renamed the specific categories that have these legacy shows, like WDW Radio in the travel category, which has dominated that category for years.
Hmm.
So that's how we're going to honor them. Now, we are going to give the winner the option on whether or not they want the full title to be on their trophy or not. But at least on the website, this is how we're going to honor the legacy shows.
So, why don't you explain the big picture on why Adam Curry's name is part of the name of it? Is it just in honor of, or what's
Yeah,
the?
in honor of Adam Curry being the
Okay.
Podfather, and
Okay.
I reached out to several places to it originally may have been an additional name on there, but right now it's the Adam Curry's podcast People's Choice Award. So that's the. Any thoughts on that, Rob? Any controversy I'm creating?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess this list of shows that you have here, I'm not exactly sure. Are those going to be uh, given an award here at some ceremony that you have, or?
The legacy shows are the legacy shows, and we're honoring them on the website, and they will be mentioned during the award ceremony. But
Oh, okay.
but you know, if they have not won, if any of those legacy shows have not won a People's Choice Award before, or the new Adam Curry People's Choice Award, we will automatically enter them to win a People's Choice Award. So they will be automatically grandfathered, entered without a registration fee to have the chance to win a People's Choice still.
Okay. So how are those shows selected to be? part of the Adam Curry's. Was that something that Adam was involved in,
No,
or
no, the
no?
legacy shows are shows that have well, legacy shows are shows that who have won a minimum of 5 times. One
Oh, I see. Okay.
they've won their podcast category a minimum of 5 times,
Okay.
and we've only been at this 12 years. So, or at
Cool.
least we've had 12 awards. Actually, been at 13. There was a year that was missed. Um, so basically, in what we've seen in these shows is they just win. Their audiences are really engaged. And they just win the awards. So
Hmm.
with this new system, maybe they wouldn't. But I think that when you announce Coverville 10 times in 12
Yeah,
years,
that's true.
and Brian and his team over there are great, but no, they're now legacy shows. So, and it's I've taken some heat from that in last year as well, but this year's definitely we've tweaked things, and I spent almost didn't do this, but I really felt that I owed the folks that contributed to the GoFundMe to come back in, get the site rebuilt, complete that promise, and
Hmm.
as I am saying and how I'm kind of phrasing it, and it's kind of in the rules. I'm trying to re-invoke the spirit of the podcast awards, and
Hmm.
I have kind of a little bit of a mission statement on that in the rules section. And really, the spirit of the podcast awards is pretty simple. It's for individual shows to work with their audiences independently to ask for nominations for a podcast award. And that
Hmm.
said, we know from years past that shows are collaborating and they team up with other shows. That isn't necessarily against the rules. And they get each of their audience to nominate a specific slate of shows and maximize the number of listener nominations. We
Hmm.
still allow networks to work together with the following caveat. The Podcast Awards Committee, and I'm going to read verbatim here, reserves the right to disqualify any show or network of shows the committee feels violates the spirit of the Podcast Awards or bring discredit to the awards or the process. Um, the awards committee decision on disqualification will not come lightly, but will be the final. A disqualified show can appeal the disqualification in writing in 48 hours. Disqualification result in forfeiture of the registration fee, and the podcast awards can invoke multi-year suspensions from future participation. And what this really boils down to is that not everyone that was involved in some of a certain group. So I know they're listening. Um, Not everyone in that group, that most of, probably more than 50% of the shows were very respectful and were honestly trying to engage their audience to win an award.
Hmm.
Uh, I think a few of those in that list, and I'm not going to quantify or say who, we're trying to mock and we're trying to make and have fun with this and work the system. So they weren't outside of the rules, um, but it didn't go over well in the podcasting community. When you get over 1,000 emails from podcasters that are seriously pissed off um, about how um, it seemed to be a big joke with a certain group, then you got a problem.
Yeah, that's true. I did also notice if you go to the About Us page, you mentioned in here, and I don't know if you've announced this or whether or not it's out there yet, but you're going to tie in with the International Podcast Day live event
Yeah.
for this, right?
So the
Okay.
the team over there, they've agreed to give us an hour during the International Podcast Day and to do the actual award ceremony.
Okay.
At least that's in kind of as a verbal. So we're in the way we're going to run the awards this year is every. That's another thing that's going to be a little bit different. Is if you're nominated and you make the slate, and if you don't submit a video and you win, you forfeit. So
What?
we're being very serious. Yeah, if you win, if you make the slate and you don't send because you've registered, you've asked your audience to nominate you, and then if you don't submit a an acceptance video, um, you forfeit. So, because many years we've had people participate, and guess what? They never even acknowledged that they've won. So, no more of that.
So what happens in that situation? Does it fall to the second place runner up?
Second place runner up wins, and they won't even know. Because if they don't submit it, we won't even tell them they were runner up.
Or how
you,
would they
you,
submit their video?
we're gonna have a procedure for people to submit their video. You're grinning your teeth. I see you over there going, wow. You think I'm
The
being a little too?
hammer's coming down.
You think I'm being a little too hardcore?
No. No, I think what I would probably do is I would just ask the the winner and the runner up submit
No,
their video.
everybody has
No?
to.
Oh,
Oh,
everybody, every show.
everybody that's nominated has to.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
got you.
that way we keep it a surprise on who wins.
Ah, you
Yeah.
guys are crafty.
Yes. So here's how it reads: awards preparation. All shows that make the final slate are required to submit a 90-second max acceptance video on the premise that they won. No later than by September 23rd, the video shall be an MP4 video. It will be submitted through an online submission form that we'll provide. If the final slate nominee fails to submit their 90-second acceptance speech and is the winner, the podcast will forfeit and the award will go to the second place show. Do not let down the listeners who nominated you by not submitting your winning video.
Ooh.
So,
All right.
well,
That'll work.
we'll see how it goes. And of
It sounds
course,
like it'll work. It sounds like it'll work. Yeah.
and of course, I'm going to be the jerk. That's the way it always works.
That's all right.
So,
It's just the way the rules are, and that's just the way it's going to be.
and I am working with some other people. I will not be the only spokeshole that will be talking about this. So,
Spokeshole. You just coined a new phrase there, Todd.
no, I stole that. I stole that from Adam Curry.
Oh, that was
At No
Adam's
Agenda,
creation.
they use that word spokeshole.
Awesome. Awesome.
So anyway, podcasters, you can registration. You have all the way up until July 31st. All I wouldn't recommend registering on July 31st because you don't show up in the nomination form until you register.
Do it ASAP, right?
Yeah, well, at least before July 1st. All right. Anyway, so I'm sorry I'm being such a shill, and we are looking for sponsors. And in a serious matter, we'll see what the bill is this year for the final build, and then we'll do the math and figure out where we at. This is not a moneymaker by any means. So we will take trophies will get bought out of the excess this year. If there is excess, which I'm hoping there will be. There should be.
That would be a nice problem to have.
Yes, it would be a nice problem to have instead of because I refused to pay out of my pocket last year for them. So, okay, let's see here. There's a few things in the news. And we're doing okay on time. I want to talk about. All right, I saw you on the Twitter thread, and it's an article that was over on Alpher, ALPHR.com. I have no idea who these folks are. Podcasts are more popular than ever. So why is the tech stuck in the past?
And I knew you were going to talk about this one.
So, Rob, why don't you tell me what you think here?
Well, it's so cookie cutter, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, the tech is never evolved. It's never gotten any better, and it's just like I just go. There's been a lot of tech that's gotten a lot
Yeah,
better.
a
It's
lot.
just that this person just doesn't know what they're talking about, and it's just so I'm kind of getting really tired of these articles coming out, the people um, just putting misinformation out there, about what the history is, where the state of the medium is, and they don't talk to anybody that knows anything about anything.
Right.
You know, they're they're talking to shills.
Uh-huh.
They're talking to people that have an agenda, and they're not looking out for the medium and have no exposure to the greater medium.
But
So
let me show you how well formatted their website looks today. Um, I have no
looks
idea.
good.
I have no
No,
idea what's going on there. I can't even see the text. It's like, what are you
yeah.
guys
Let me see if I
hosting on?
can find it. Yeah. Now I did see one article that was in Pod to Pod is how women are changing the podcasting game.
Okay.
that's
Was it a good piece?
that's a reasonable assertion. I would say that women are having a big impact on the podcasting space.
Well, and
Uh,
if you look at last year when we were at in Anaheim with not in Anaheim, but when we were at Podcast Movement, I'm already thinking about Anaheim this year.
yeah.
That the demographic there was, let's be honest, if everyone was single, that had been a pretty good event to go to meet someone because there was pretty equal numbers of men and women there.
Well, that's exactly what I found at Pod Summit too. There was probably at least 50% women at that conference. And when I asked everybody in the crowd who was doing a podcast today, half of them raised their hand.
Wow.
So I thought it was a perfect ratio, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
to have half of the crowd be podcasters and the other half not be podcasters.
Right.
If people are willing to help each other, that can actually work out really great. So, um, so yeah, I don't think we have a big issue of gender or ethnicities or racial imbalance in this
Yeah.
medium. I think we're doing just fine.
No, I think too, just looking at Dan's event, Dan and the rest of the team. So it's not just Dan's event. So the rest of the team, don't shoot me here. And Jared and the guys, it's a pretty cross section of America, and I think there was, and even international. I think there was all demographic, all again. Yeah, I don't think there's. I think we're getting pretty good distribution now. Some people may have a different perspective, and please let me know if you do. We'd love to hear your perspective because we're just let's face it, Rob, we're just two old white guys. So
Yeah.
we may have a a filter here, but I think the space is gendered up pretty good.
Well, this is something we've been talking about for years that we were hoping was going to happen
Right, right.
to the space. It was going to get balanced and representative of the population, and I think we're getting very close to that. Um, oh, that kind of whiteout or block out that you saw
Yeah.
on that article, that was because they're prompting you to fill out a survey before you can read the article.
Screw them. I'm not doing that.
And it says the question that they're asking is, do you own a Google Home device? And the first answer on the list is not sure. I
Oh
just
my
I
God.
just accidentally picked one up. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
that's that's the reason why you can't see it. Just you have to go through a 5-question survey to be able to get to read the article.
bite me. I'm not doing that. Matter of fact, that's immediate. Okay, so let me go to that site. X, you're gone. And they're also playing audio on the page too.
Oh, and and,
Yep,
and they're running a video
yep,
too.
yep. They sure are.
Yeah.
So, one thing we should also do is I got to show my awards. We should announce, and by the way, everyone, and I should have done this at the beginning of the show, and I am tardy in doing so. Congratulations, Rob.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
For those of you who don't know, Rob is going to be inducted in the 2017 Hall of Fame. So we are going to have a Hall of Fame podcast award show, Rob.
When is that show?
Right now. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
that's this
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we will be able to have that distinction of being the only two that do two Hall of Fame members that do a show at the same time or to do a show together.
So
So
all we have to do is bring Rob Walsh on, and we're
yeah,
a trifecta.
right, be a trifecta. So this year's Hall of Fame inductees are, and this is a great list. It's Brian Ibbott from Coverville, Dan Class, and he's been doing the Bitters Pill since 2004. And we've got Elsie Escobar, and she podcasts the feed, the official Libsyn podcast. Then we've got Luria Petrucci, a.k.a. Kelly Lewis, who is obviously a pioneer in the streaming world. And of course, and I think they have this in alphabetical order, but last but not least, of course, is Rob. So Rob Greenlee, congratulations, Rob. And
Well, thank
I
you.
was amiss at not saying it at the beginning of the show.
It's okay.
So
I'm not spending a lot of time playing it up, so it's just what it is, you know.
yeah, well, the
Um,
trophies you've seen the trophies, right?
no, I have not.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I guess I
all
did.
right.
Yeah, sure, I've seen.
Let me everyone. I just have to indulge me here. Let me show Rob what he's going to get.
Oh, oh, and
You
Gloria, she actually built her career as a video podcaster.
Yeah.
That's
You're gonna have one of these beautiful bad boys on your.
bad boys.
Yeah, look at
That's
that.
awesome.
Isn't
That's
that
awesome.
gorgeous?
It
The
is.
the sun the sun is shining in my face. So
Looks great.
yeah, and it is heavy. This thing is like you got to hold it with two hands. And I just fingerprinted it up.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so here's what you got to do though, Rob. I think officially was the best dressed so far for the awards. I claim that just because I wore a tuxedo. So you are being
Do I have to
tasked.
wear a tuxedo? I have to wear a tuxedo.
I am challenging you to wear a tuxedo so
Do
that
they even make one my size?
Rob, come on now. You need to go and um get a tux and wear a tux so that when we can put pictures side by side, of from my previous award and yours, will be like we'll be the two best dressed men having ever received Hall of Fame awards.
Well, I thought that Rob Walsh looked pretty dapper
He
last
he
year, as
looked
I
dapper, but
recall.
he didn't wear a tux.
I thought he had. Oh, that's right. He had a bow tie,
That's
right?
right. Okay.
Colorful bow tie, as I recall.
And Rob did look pretty dapper. For an old guy, he cleaned up pretty good.
He could for an old guy. I'm older than all of you, so
Oh,
yeah.
but no, you're being too humble. This is there was a tough field this year. There was the nominated people, and I don't think I can say because I did get to vote. Um, the field was tough. It was a tough field of nominees. So, I had to sit and think about it for a while on a couple of the choices. Now, I will say I voted for you. So,
Well, thank you.
that one you had in the bag. But, there was, it was a tough field this year. It was a great list of nominees. So, it's only going to get harder as they move forward because now the number of years because there's not a lot of us that are left around from the 2004 2005 period, but now as we start moving to the right, the field of people that are eligible is going to get much greater.
Hmm.
So
That's
um
true.
so it's
That's
it's
true.
it's going to be even harder in out years, but
So,
uh
what was that selection process like? I mean, just not specifically, but just generally. What's
well,
the?
Dan and the team take nominations. I'm assuming, and is Dan's on chat. Dan, do you put up all the nominations that come in? Do you qualify them, and then every person that it was has gets a write up gets put in the ballot? So maybe if Dan's, because I know Dan just commented a few minutes ago. And then Dan sends the prior inductees, and I don't know if anyone else gets to vote. I don't know if Dan and his teams vote or not, but the uh, the prior inductees then vote on the slate. So
Gotcha.
I don't know if he's, but
So it's just a list of names, in those that have won in the past. We'll just go through and
well,
select what, five of them.
yeah, there's write-ups. There's a nomination write-up beside each person's name that you can read, and
Mm-hmm.
then you basically can vote for five, and you pick the five that you vote for. So, um, and again, and I didn't vote last year. I don't know why. This is the first year that I voted. So, um,
Hmm.
but anyway, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, Daniel, how many were nominated. It was a decent list. If Dan wants to share that, he can. I'm probably not at liberty to say.
Gotcha.
But no, so again, congratulations. And
Well, thank you.
what Dan and his team is doing over there is awesome. So but yeah, everyone on this list has contributed considerably to the podcasting space. You look at Brian has essentially made a career of it. So has Luria. Elsie
Yeah.
is as well. Dan, I'm not sure if he's made a career podcasting or not, if he has a regular job or not. But obviously you have, and
Yep.
all those conferences, all the helping podcasters, everything that all these folks do is big. So anyway,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Well, thank you. I know it's been a long journey. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for a long time, even before podcasting.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of stuff. Um, so it goes way, way back for me. I mean, I started
Mm-hmm.
doing this back in 1999. Not podcasting specifically, but creating audio programming online.
Right.
So it's been, I spent those early years behind the mic only, and then after I quit my radio show, just started working more behind the scenes.
Yet
Um,
Dan is in chat. He says we weed out a few. There are a lot of joke entries or people nominating themselves when they don't qualify.
oh,
So
really?
interesting that they get joke entries. That would be a good B-roll, Dan. The joke entries.
What
Someone
is a
was
joke anyway? Is that like,
Rick was saying. So what happens to all those acceptance speeches of podcasters who didn't win? Do they get put on a fun reel for YouTube? Hmm.
yeah,
You don't want to rub it in their face. So that's
no,
probably not nice.
no, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be an interesting podcast movement this year.
Yes. Get your
There's going to be
get
um, a big contingent of radio people, I guess, going to this conference because there's a specific track just for radio at this event
yeah.
this year.
Tell Francisco he has to pay for tux. Let
So how did you do that? Did you actually rent the tux locally? Is that what you
I
did, or
did.
did you
I
bring?
rented it locally, and I took it with them. And basically, you just have to work with. They'll give it to you. You can usually keep the tux for 4 or 5 days.
Oh,
So usually there's enough time to not incur extra fee. And if you need to keep it an extra day, it is usually not too much of a charge. Just explain to them what you're doing, where, when, and how. Yeah, I went fitted and basically did all that. Here's the thing on a tux. So if you need to if you think you're going to need to wear a tux more than like twice or 3 times in like the next 2 or 3 years, just buy a tux because it's cheaper. If you're going to need one a couple of times over the next, and you don't get any fatter and robbed, I don't think you have to worry about that. It's just cheaper to buy one. if you're going to need one 2 or 3 times in the next, let's say, 5 years. But if you haven't worn a tux up to this point, you probably just rent one as cheaper.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? Maybe this is the start of something big. Maybe you'll need to have a tux now every 2 weeks.
I don't think so. I've got two really, really nice and expensive suits that I could wear.
No, 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 no. Tuxedo. You have to wear a
But I could
tuxedo.
just get a really nice bow tie.
Okay, Rob, Rob. You're not understanding the situation here.
Okay.
I'm
You have
gonna
to make it
I'm
difficult.
I am going to browbeat you until you wear a tux. So do what you want to do, but wear a
No, I
tux.
know. Yeah, do what you want to do. Just wear a tux.
Even the chat room is saying wear a tux. Even Rick is saying wear a tux.
Okay, everybody.
They put out
So what?
they put on a class act award ceremony.
Yeah.
In red carpet, champagne. I mean, it's they have hors d'oeuvres behind the scenes.
All right.
I'm just Dan's like, what? They do what?
You're setting expectations for him. So
They
I'm
have
going to be able to live up to
this
that.
big marvelous party at a steak place that the podcast movement pays for.
That's right. Vanity Magazine is going to fly in,
That's right.
put on a
Reporters are
party.
there, of
That's
course.
right. It's going to be a photo wall for
Oh,
all of the journalists to show up, right?
and Dan's gone, Todd, stop. All right, so you can tell we haven't been together in a while. So there's
So I
a
was. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
there's a topic that I just chuckled when I saw it. So you know my story. Rob, I was a blogger before I was a podcaster. Never a really good blogger. I'm still not a good blogger. That's why I have other people write for me. So what I've been pitching for almost 13 years now. If you're a blogger, it's in an easy transition to be a podcaster. And you have so many advantages. You get this pre-built audience. You launch a show. It's like you get this kickstart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now my kickstart was like 300 people, but that's still pretty good, right?
He had a huge blogger fan following, right? Is that
Right,
what you're
right,
saying?
right. So here's this article at yourstory.com. And by the way, I own the domain talkstory.com if anybody ever wants to. I think I do. I think
Don't you
I.
have just about every domain?
Let me double check that talk story. Make sure it goes to my website. Well, while I'm waiting for it to read, oh no, I don't. Maybe I don't own that domain. Someone else does, but I own some domains
Shocked.
like that. Yeah. So, shut. So there's this article. Podcasts are the new monetized blogs. Here's how you can get on it. And I thought, oh, interesting. So it's at the turn of the century. Blogging and social networking were entirely different animals. When I first started blogging in 2001, we were just a bunch of people sending out long form rants. And so it's really kind of talking about kind of some of this, and not exactly, but some of the same stuff I've been talking about for a while.
Uh-huh.
And so maybe if people are starting to go, yeah, there's this direct correlation, blogging, podcasting, but I still believe the strongest combination is someone that's blogging and podcasting at the same time. There's so many advantages to doing that. It's
Yeah,
really
I agree.
incredible. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it's tough for a lot of people to do that though, because I mean, some people really takes them a long time to write articles.
Look what I did. Look what I did. Dan is saying red carpet party will have open bar this year, according to rumors. See,
Wow.
look at that. See what I accomplished. Oh,
But are tuxedos required?
yes, of course, for
Okay.
current awardees only. Of course, the crackers and caviar in the back will be reserved just for the new nominees, right? So
There you go. Well, I don't think I'd be eating any caviar. Sorry.
You don't like caviar?
No.
That's really? Is it a
It's
personal
too.
thing?
It's yeah. It's too highfalutin for me. I'm more of a kind of a down to earth kind of guy.
There's one night in your life when you are being inducted to the Podcast Hall of Fame, you can be as highfalutin in one finger as possible.
Okay, Todd.
Oh, I'm gonna have fun with this for a while. And we're gonna, everyone send Rob a congratulations email to rob@robgreenlee.com. Make sure you send him a congratulatory note for him being inducted into the Podcast Hall of Fame. He deserves it.
Don't
So,
don't send me any viruses though. uh, so I wanted to also ask you, Todd. So how did you do your induction speech? What was the process that you went through mentally to come
ah,
up with what to say at this
I do.
this thing? I
I
mean,
do.
I'm a podcaster, but I'm speechless at something like this.
Besides thanking your mom and God and whoever else you want to thank or whatever deity you bow down to, I think that I kind of approach it just as I do anything else. I just did some like crib notes. I did like talking points, and I think I followed 2 of the 10 that I had written down or something to that effect.
Uh-huh.
That's something you got to figure out. And I can't tell you how to do that, but there's definitely some people you're going to want to thank, and
Yeah. So
um,
how long do you have
I
to
think
do?
I don't think more than a couple minutes. If you go more
Okay.
than a couple of minutes, podcasters are going to start throwing shoes at you. So,
Well, I don't know. I
you
don't
know,
know. As
I
long as it's not tomatoes, it'll ruin the tux.
yeah,
So
I think most people, 2 minutes is a lot. Even a minute is a lot. You think about 3 words per second, so you can 200 words in about that's all you can say a lot in that.
I think I can pull that off.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm sure they're going to give you some guidance. I don't think they've ever told you not, keep it under 5 minutes, but um,
I'll
you
say bring out the big hook. Or
yeah, yeah. And what they do is they just put the music up over you, and then switch to the other person, and they shove you off the stage. So
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, but no, I think that, and be honest with you, I think I just wrote some talking points or something to that effect. I know some people get nervous but we're podcasters. We're used to talking to people. So if
Right.
anybody can do this, you can. Your
Yeah.
problem is you're going to have to keep it underneath 90 minutes.
No, Todd, 22 minutes max.
Yeah.
It's going to be put out as a podcast. I'm actually going to do a host read during it as well.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep. Yeah. Going to promote, what was the advertisement in the middle of the podcast awards that they did, ceremony?
I,
Was it
I don't remember.
stamps.com or something?
Stamps.com. Yeah, exactly.
What? So it's so. Oh, it's so. No, it was so cheese. Oh my god. I was half in the bag when that. Because I thought I was out of the podcast awards business. So I'd been drinking heavily up to that point, and I was just sitting there, kind of like, did they just do an ad during the awards ceremony?
I don't know. I thought it was innovative, Todd. No, just kidding.
Yeah, if I remember right, you were still getting a paycheck from that particular employee when they did that.
It was. I was actually sitting at the table right next to Norm.
Oh, oh my god. And did you want to crawl underneath the table when that happened?
It was like, oh boy, I could tell this one was going to crash and burn hard. Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. I had already kind of left the company, so
Yeah. Jason
yeah.
got inducted. I believe you got into the wrestler, and we've got another celebrity amongst us in the chat room. Jason got, I believe, inducted into some. He'll have to tell us in chat room I think the Wrestling Hall of Fame or something. Jason, please correct me here, but he says my Hall of Fame speech last month was 6 minutes. I ran over by 1 minute. That's 6 minutes, dude. Did you like? Wow, that's long. Um. Oh, and Daniel says, talking about the advertisement in the ads, it says a National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Virginia chapter. Congratulations to Jason. We are surrounded by nobility right now.
Nobility. A Hall of Fame will do that.
And let me look over here. Rob, Rob, is there a
What's
safe?
that?
Do you have a safety pin?
No,
No safety pin because I see a swelling of your head. No, no one. You of all people will not do that. You're very humble.
no,
So, and
that'll
it
never happen to
and
me.
it is a humbling experience. It really, really is. So
Oh
I can
yeah,
I can tease you, but
you can, Todd,
that's right.
because you've been through it, and your head got big for a while, but
No,
then it
I was
settled down
I
a
was
little bit.
I was
It
pretty
settled
humble.
down a
I
little
was
bit.
I was pretty humbled.
You were, Todd. I
Yeah,
have to admit, I was
if,
giving you a hard time.
if you're not humble, you're an asshole. So so
That's
S
true.
that's
That's
right.
true.
So S
Yeah.
Town, let's talk about S Town for a second. And I have got an idea. Actually, I'm sitting on top of a story. If you've been following my regular podcast at all on episode 1197, 1198, I've
Yeah.
been heavily involved in something that's been going on in the hometown that I grew up
Yeah.
in. And I don't want to go into the details on the show, but it's just a pure travesty. And some school administrators, as of this morning, were put on administrative leave. But long story short, the it has the hallmarks of a serial type of program or serial type of story that can be told the once the actual trial gets over and everything that's going to happen from a legal standpoint. But without going into details, Serial and S Town have hit some amazing numbers. S Town exceeded 40 million downloads, which is, that is just a butt ton, to be honest with you. Um, but
Yeah.
in truly this thing that's going on in my hometown that I grew up in, it's got the hallmarks of being able to tell a story over 20 years of something that was missed, and it's ending in travesty. So I think if we all look within our communities, there are serial and S Town type stories that, as a podcaster, you may never have thought of doing. I had never thought in my entire time of doing a podcast up until this point, and that I would actually consider doing an investigative type reporting type show. But
Uh-huh.
I'm really sitting on the edge of thinking about doing this,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
so but it's based upon something I've been exposed to in my hometown. Each of us have things that go on. So, with this S Town hitting 40 million downloads, what is the essence of this? It's a deep story, and there's intrigue and mystery and all kinds of stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think those are available in every time. And so if you're a podcaster and you're kind of scratching your head what to do, just look around in your hometown. You might be surprised what you find. But what do you think about
Yeah.
their 40 million downloads?
It's impressive, I have to say.
It's really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great that we're starting to see a podcast hit those kind of numbers, and I think it's certainly good for the medium
So
to
the
have a few shows like that out there.
so the question then really is, Rob, how much did they spend to make that show? Do we know?
Yeah, and how many staff members? What did it take or producers and editors and to actually produce the show too?
Yeah, because I'm thinking about the logistics of this story that I want to do, and I'm going to have somebody on the ground running down people, getting them to agree to come on and talk about it. What you have in many small towns And the town I grew up in, my graduating class was 97. So everybody knows everybody. And when there's something controversial going on, they're
Yeah.
worried about their businesses, their jobs, their standing, what's
Hmm.
going to happen at the church that they go to. All this stuff goes through people's heads, and people are often hesitant to stick their neck out. And if you're in a big city, and maybe it's not such a big deal, but if you're in a small town,
Hmm.
where some of these, where some of these stories are originating, it'd be very much a battle to get some people to actually talk about it publicly.
Yeah.
My sister
Yeah. I
was.
think that
Go ahead.
there's a lot of stories out there. I think that could be told. And this is I guess we could probably see there's probably a coming wave of that type of content coming behind S Town, right?
Oh,
Lots of people are going to try and produce something that they hope will hit those kind of
yeah.
numbers.
My sister was worried, and she was actually told by community members, what your brother's doing is going to bring national media to us. And they didn't want that. They didn't want a CNN truck sitting in a school parking lot. Um, but you know what? I was, pretty much on the, well, I was getting the word out, trying to raise social awareness.
Hmm.
And I did have a phone call that came in from a national news organization, a specific cable network,
Hmm.
and talked to him for about 30 minutes on the phone. Now, they never picked it up, but it crossed their radar. So um, it's a pretty amazing today, and this has really been a lesson to me on what we as podcasters can do. I took 20 minutes out of my tech show to, well, it got pretty personal, and I got pretty deep into a absolutely non-tech related topic
Hmm.
in my show
Hmm.
twice. I did it twice. I did over 2 episodes. Now, I'm not going to abuse my audience more than that, but um, it's amazing the what you can do as a podcaster in this space, combination with social media, and what you can do to um, really cause a community to become aware and become active. Uh, every podcaster has the ability to um, really almost be an activist to a certain extent.
Hmm.
And if the issue is, if the subject is, strong enough and it's not getting the word, it's pretty amazing what you can do. And I, the only goal I really had in what I, in really, let me give you guys some background to those of you who haven't listened to my regular show, is it involved in what I consider, in my opinion, let me be very careful in saying that, in my opinion, a school administration that overlooked a situation with a student teacher relationship, which resulted in ultimately in the arrest of the teacher on multiple counts in the sexual nature. That, in my opinion, again, in my opinion, could have been prevented had the school administration been proactive in listening to issues that came in from students. Now, um, that said, uh, there is the ability, if you're a content creator, to reach a lot of people in a hurry. And that I did with my
Hmm.
show, and along with some other community members that were also active in trying to get the word out and get the community aware of what was going on and the facts behind stuff. So, this morning, the school board in that community put the two on administrative leave,
Hmm.
as well they should have been. So I'm pretty pleased with the end result. But it is it's pretty powerful, the medium we have here. And it become very obvious to me over the past week or two what can really be accomplished. And I don't know, I got on this tangent,
Yeah.
but it just kind of triggered me here on this S town, on what we can do as podcasters, and look at different topics.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, you're having an impact there, so that's great. Like you say, it's an example of what a podcaster can do.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Uh,
I wanted to also
Go
mention
ahead.
that there's an article that came out. It was in it's called the Record. The music news from NPR came out. The title of the article was "The MP3 is officially dead," and that's according to its creators. So um, I guess the Fraunhofer folks are not going to be supporting licensing of their patents on the MP3 format going forward.
So what does that mean?
Well, it means that I would think potentially there's going to be a lot more pressure move towards audio format, moving towards an AAC um, standard going forward into the future. It's not to say that MP3 is going to go away anytime soon, but it means that the encoding side of this will over time will start to fade away
Because they're not
because
allowing licensing, or they're
correct that they are not going to license the MP3 encoding format um, to software. So, and I'm sure many podcasters don't realize this, but the MP3 format is not a open standard. It is a proprietary owned codec that is controlled by a company called Fraunhofer. It's been around for a very long time. It's out in the wild because they've licensed it to software that can be used to encode audio. So technically, that patent gives Fraunhofer the right to go after people for using their patented encoding algorithm. Now they have not,
but the question
and
is, but Rob, the patent isn't for a lifetime. It's only 15 years is what a patent is only good for.
yeah, but well, it doesn't say anything about that. It just says that there is a. Um, I should probably share with you this article that came out, but it's really focused. The article doesn't specifically talk about podcasting. It's talking more about music. But I think that it's a discussion now. AAC is a format that Apple has been supporting for forever, essentially, and the AAC stands for Advanced Audio Coding. Now, there has been people in the past that have used the MP4 standard,
Then for A, yeah.
uh, or for A, yeah, for this as well. But I guess I'm trying to read through this. This format has been kind of on life support since 1995. I'm talking about the MP3 format. Um, but I guess they were still issuing licenses to software companies to use it for encoding.
So if
Um,
they walk away and aren't going to enforce it, no one's going to change anything.
well, so let's say, just use an example, SoundForge, which is an audio editing software suite, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's made by Sony. And Sony has to pay a license to get access to the MP3 format that they use in their software. So they have to pay an annual renewal on using that codec in their software. Um, and I'm sure Apple had to do that as well. It could mean that at some point down the line here that these companies remove MP3 from their software,
Hmm.
so you would not be able to encode an MP3. So that's where the risk is. I don't know when that would happen, or it doesn't talk about timeframes, but the the issuing of licenses for use of the MP3 patented technology of uh, it's actually Technicolor and Fraunhofer IIS has been terminated. So
So
um,
are they going to release it then? Have they said what they're going to do?
no, they haven't said what's going to happen from this. If it's going to turn open source or what's going to happen. But the discussion that I'm reading in this article talks about how, let's see, there's going to be a shift towards greater support for AAC,
Hmm.
um, and is now the de facto standard for music downloads and video on mobile phones.
AAC is?
Yeah, the article states that the AAC codec is much more efficient than MP3 and offers a lot more functionality.
Hmm.
Um, so it's something to keep an eye on.
The question is AAC supported on every device? Is it HTML5 capable?
I don't know. I don't know enough about AAC to really answer that. And it doesn't really go into that in this article. It just talks about the MP3 format, um, kind of kind of drifting away. So I'm not sure what that means, if it's going to fall into open source or if it's people are going to be allowed to continue.
In the end,
Um,
audio's audio. I don't care how people get it. It's
well,
MP3 or
or what the format is, right?
right.
Yeah, yeah,
And the question is, can you tag? Can you put tags in AAC? Is there that functionality in there? Does anybody
yeah,
know?
yeah. I'm sure it's in there. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a boy. That's is I can't actually say. I have to be careful here. Nice topic of discussion on ID3 tags and the amount of header information in MP3 files. Let's just put it that way. It's been a topic close to my heart here in the last month.
yeah. But it's something that we should probably, I mean, I'm planning on digging into it a little bit more and learning more about it, and we can talk more intelligently about what's happening here. But it might, this might be a big impact on the podcasting space.
Daniel says the only thing we know for sure is that that means no one can claim ownership of MP3 technology anymore. MP4 video uses AAC audio, so I would expect AAC audio to be the HTML would be AAC audio to be HTML5 compatible, which makes sense.
hmm
You know,
Yeah,
I don't think it's if there's a shift, there's a shift.
yeah,
You know, it's I don't think we care which format we encode in. It's at this point it's been MP3. I just want to make sure cross compatibility wise that we don't run into problem with players and we start
yeah. And that's
breaking stuff.
why getting the word out about this is so important early. So and making the community aware of what could be coming, so people, platforms can adjust and
Right.
make sure that they're compatible with something. Because if there's all of a sudden a wave of people creating podcasts in AAC format, and there's all of these platforms that don't support AAC, then we the podcasting world kind of breaks for a while.
Yep.
um, so so anyway.
So, Rob, did you get your money out? And did you become a premium member of the Bill O'Reilly podcast?
No, I did not. I'm not a big fan of Bill O'Reilly, I'm sorry to say.
So, of course, he got fired, got canned by Fox, and
Yep.
I know they probably did that with regret, considering how big of a show he had. But anyway, so the no spin news for Bill O'Reilly is now, he's basically out in podcast land. He's been regulate. He's been, he, well, I hate to say it this way, but he's been shit canned to podcasting.
That's right. Downgraded,
And
demoted to podcasting, just
yeah,
podcasting. Yes.
so of course he has been. Let's just think about this for a second though, from a brand perspective. You take whatever he's accused of and all this other stuff, and he's a scumbag because of what he's done to women. Let's just we'll put it out there. So but he for years now this goes again. What have I always said? Branding, 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 branding. So he was on Fox, and every night at the end of his show, he would say, make sure you go to BillO'Reilly.com, 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 make sure you go to BillO'Reilly.com. He said about 50 freaking times. So he built his brand not on Fox, but on BillO'Reilly.com. So
Yeah.
when he got canned, where does his fan base go? BillO'Reilly.com. They know where to go because he's already got a podcast over there, right?
Yep.
He wasn't go to FoxNews.com to listen to my podcast. He was go to
No.
BillO'Reilly.com to listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
And so now he's going to start a membership thing, $4.95 a month or something like that. So who knows how he's going to do on that. But he's already been established doing a podcast. Now, what have I said for the past 13 years? Build your brand
Own your
on
brand.
build your
Yeah.
brand on your.com so
Yep.
that when you get shit canned for being a dirtbag,
Which we all will at some point.
yeah, at a prospective job, then those that want to continue to follow you, um, in please, I know some of you are fans of Bill O'Reilly, and we're having a little fun here, so don't crucify me. I know you, some of you will, and I know I'm going to get emails saying he was framed, he was set up, and while all that might be true, or maybe not true, I don't know. The key thing is here, you say what you must about him, but he was brilliant in making sure people knew where his brand was at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yep.
just, to me, is
And
like,
I'm on his site right now. Yeah, I'm on his site right now.
oh my, you're going to be struck down, Rob.
I know. What's wrong with me? I'm just trying to think if he actually uses the term podcast anywhere.
Oh, he
Because
does.
oh, there you go.
He promoted it on every single episode. Listen to my podcast.
Yeah, smart
So
guy.
he was
Smart guy.
smart. So,
Yeah.
so when he, got bounced off, um, this is not a guy that's going to have any problem paying his bills. He had the number one cable show for years and was getting millions of dollars from Fox. So this guy is not going to be a pauper. Not going to see him on the side of the street begging for 50 cents. Um, so
But Todd, I still don't see an audio player on his website
no,
yet.
it's premium. It's all
I know.
premium. You have to pay
Yeah.
$4.95 to get access to it. He's not
That
giving
sucker.
anything away.
That sucker.
So, but
All right.
anyway, I'm just making the point here that,
But he's not a podcaster then.
well, in the sense that he is making them public available. No, not at
Now,
all.
is he creating a free version of his show
I
that's
don't, I don't,
publicly
I
available?
don't think so. I don't think he is.
Well, then it's I'm hard pressed to call him a podcaster then.
Yeah, but I think I think it was a show on Fox called the O'Reilly Factor or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
exactly. And
He,
now it's the
it's
no spin news.
because he used to say this is the no spin zone, so now he's
Yes.
saying the no spin news. So he was careful in his rebranding,
Yep.
because probably Fox probably owned
The no
uh
spin
the
zone.
no
Yeah.
spin zone and probably owned the O'Reilly Factor or whatever you want to call it. Um, so anyway, it's kind of it's
Okay. He does show a free podcast URL. You have to dig for it a little bit, but
so maybe he needs the um, Cochrane Greenlee consulting team to come in
yeah.
and help him with
Yeah,
getting
I
his
think he needs
website
a
set up.
Spreaker account. I think he needs a Spreaker account so he can do some live streaming.
Okay, well that hey, he'll take his money, right? His money spends as good as anybody else's.
I think it's still green. It's not brown.
So we're capitalist at heart. The
Yes.
so I just again I'm going back that his brand is on his website. He controls his stack, and I'm this is it's like small victory, even though I'm having to use the example of someone that is not in favor at this point, and probably has paid women he's victimized millions of dollars. So
Mm-hmm.
settling out of court. So again, it,
Oh, Todd, I just pulled up his free podcast RSS feed, and I'm looking at it.
uh-oh.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
Um,
oh, really?
he he does have a free podcast feed. It's
Okay.
called the Bill O'Reilly free podcast. Bill O'Reilly from his car on the firing of FBI Director James Comey. So he's doing his podcast from his car,
Well, the free one, anyway.
the free one. And guess where it's hosted?
You're gonna. I bet you. Where's it hosted?
Knox Solutions.
Oh! Oh, that is
Yeah,
too funny. Those
that's
of you that are
yeah.
listening probably have no,
You
it's
have
an
no idea
inside
what we're
joke.
talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is he
Okay.
over there at that company? Is his show listed on that website?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, Todd, I think we've completely lost our audience at this point. So we should probably bring him up to speed on what's
Okay,
happening
I'll
here.
let you do the honors. Oh man, it's too
Well,
funny.
okay, Knox Solutions is the technology backend provider for Podcast One.
And Rob,
Um,
that's a very robust technology solution too, right?
yeah, right. I know I had to work on it for a year. So, yeah, it's anyway. I'm not going to slander anybody, but it's not a great platform. Let's put
You
it
can
that way.
say in your opinion,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's a POS.
So anyway,
Oh, it's funny.
yeah.
Oh my
Oh well.
God, that was a laugh of the day right there. Well, he might be in trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think he needs to get on a little better platform. I
Oh
think.
my gosh. Well, that's just, oh man, that's just too funny. Oh
Yeah.
my.
and and he's probably been working with those guys because it shows a copyright. I don't know if they've been working with Knox since 2002, but I doubt it.
Wow.
That's how long he's been around doing stuff. I guess is
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
2002.
he
So
was an early
15 years.
adopter.
15 years.
Oh my. That was too funny.
But
Well,
but he does have a free podcast, and he did his last episode was came out on looks like the 9th of May.
huh.
So he's probably doing just a weekly. It looks like maybe a 5-minute show or something like that.
Right. Oh man. Well, we've
It's
covered
not.
a lot of ground today. We're already an hour 40 or so in, hour
Yeah, we
50
are.
in,
We
and
are.
we belong. But anything else? Did we miss anything, audience? Those of you that are hanging with us here, did we miss
I'm
anything
sure we
today?
did, Todd. I'm
Oh my
sure we
God, we
did.
missed a lot.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and there's a whole bunch of stuff here. There's been a lot of studies come out. Jacobs put something out. And I didn't even hear not a whisper of the event that happened in L.A., the radio conference. I heard nary a whisper on
There
social
wasn't
media about
anybody.
that.
There weren't any podcasters there at that
So
conference, right?
yeah, I know Seth was there, but I have no idea what they did at the Worldwide Radio Summit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they did say that the preferred podcast listening device is a smartphone by 51%, desktop, laptop by 30%. I don't know who they got these results from. In Tech Survey 13 for podcasting consumption. So they must have done this on their own. I don't know who they got this data from, but desktop,
Yeah.
laptop 30%, tablet 11, in-home audio system 3%, in-car audio system 6%. In-car being your Bluetooth on your mobile phone. I don't know about that number, but anyway.
Yeah.
Let's hear what
Yeah.
else. I think that was it.
That's probably enough for this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good. But everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with us being gone. Rob, just from a programming note, it does look like I'm going to be on the East Coast for 2 weeks in June, but I definitely want to keep the show rocking, so we'll have to figure out a way to do the
Well,
show when I'm traveling.
I'm gonna be in Europe starting the 11th of June. So
Oh, so that's one of the weeks I'm out. So okay,
okay.
we'll plan accordingly, but I don't want to leave folks hanging for a month like we did this time again. So
Okay.
part of it was my fault this time too, and then you went off to Calgary, so that just extended it a week.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but everyone, thanks for being here. Send your tidbits and rumors and information to us here at the show, and we'd definitely love to hear from you. And thanks for allowing us to be out. I know some of you missed us. We're glad to be back. But you can reach me real simple, Todd at blueberry.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Geek News. Rob?
I can be reached Rob at Rob Greenlee or Rob at Spreaker.com. So, and then I'm on Twitter at Rob Greenlee, and that's with two E's.
And if we have to take up a fund to have a tux made for Rob to fit him, because he is, a very tall man, and not a
Yes.
large man, but a tall man, maybe we'll
Yes.
have to take up a donation to,
Yeah,
the
I need
extra,
a crowdfunding campaign on this, I think.
yeah, the extra $100 it costs you for that extra yard of material.
That's right. Right. I have to order special for that.
Yeah. So I am headed to the gym. I am down 19 pounds. So that,
Congratulations,
yeah,
Todd. That's great.
that it sucks. In the gym I'm going to, there's how should we put it? It's not that much eye candy. So it's I'm just there sweating by myself. But that's okay. So you don't
It
go to
could be better,
you don't
right?
go to the gym just to work out. You go to see the sights, right? So.
Yeah, well, that's one side benefit of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week on the New Media Show. Everyone, take care. Be safe. Keep on podcasting. Take care. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.